Hi class, in lesson 3.9 we will be looking at parts in a part. Learning targets for today, we will determine how many groups of a certain size are in a number, create a representation for division problems, and finally dividing with fractions. Key terms to look for today: reciprocal, very important when we are dividing with fractions, the multiplicative inverse property, and the multiplicative inverse. Let's look at problem 1 on page 200. Division of whole numbers means to ask how many groups of a certain size are contained in a number. Let's look at the example. The expression 12 divided by 3 means you are trying to determine how many groups of 3 are in 12. We have a physical model and a number line model that are shown here. Pretty easy to understand the physical model. We have one group of 12. We have 4 groups of 3, then we can see 12 divided by 3 is going to be equal to 4 because there are 4 groups of 3 in 12. So make sure that we understand just overall what it means when we are dividing. If we take a look at page 201, now when we are dividing with fractions, we are still asking the same question. The expression 2 divided by 1/2 is asking how many halves are in 2. So again, if we look at our physical model, we can see that there are 4 1/2 parts in 2. So 2 divided by 1/2 is going to be equal to 4. The final example then down at the bottom, if we have the expression 1/2 divided by 2, that is asking us how many groups of 2 are in 1/2. So we can see again from the physical model that there is 1/4 of a group in 2 of 2 in 1/2, so 1/2 divided by 2 is going to be 1/4. On page 202, number 1 tells us to write a sentence to describe what the division expression is asking. Then we are drawing a diagram to represent the division problem. And finally, we are calculating the quotient and writing a sentence to describe our answer. If you need to use your fraction strips to help you with this part of the lesson, please feel free to do so. Let's look at letter A together and go over it together, much like we did in lesson 3.8. So let's go through this step by step. The first thing we have to do is write a sentence to describe what the division expression is asking. So we would want to write down how many fourths are in 3/4 if our expression is 3/4 divided by 1. The second thing then that we have to do is draw a diagram to represent the division problem. You can see if you would use your fraction strips, remember you did not have to do that, but it is broken up into equal size fourths. And I'm again being asked how many fourths are in 3/4, so I can see that there is 1, there is 2, there are 3 of them. So 3/4 divided by 1/4 is going to give you 3 for your answer. The last thing then that you finally have to do is write a sentence to describe your answer. There are 3 1/4 parts in 3/4. So that is the final step that you have to do. What I would like you to do is, with your group members, answer letters B through E for number 1. For letter B, we have 3/2 divided by 1/4. So the sentence we are writing, how many fourths are in 3/2? 3/2 divided by 1/4 is going to be equal to 6. So there are 6 1/4 or 1/4 parts in 3/2. For letter C, we have 3 divided by 3/4. How many 3/4 are in 3? We have our diagram shown. 3 divided by 3/4 is going to be 4. So there are 4 3/4 parts in 3. For letter D, I have 1/2 divided by 1/8. So how many eighths are in 1/2? My diagram is shown. 1/2 divided by 1/8 is going to be 4. There are 4 1/8 parts in 1/2. And finally, for letter E, 3/4 divided by 1/8. How many eighths are in 3/4? My diagram is shown. 3/4 divided by 1/8 is going to be 6. So there are 6 1/8 parts in 3/4. Number 2 down at the bottom of page 203 says, how can you check each of your answers in question 1 to make sure that you were correct? Explain your reasoning. So go ahead and discuss and answer number 2 with your group members. For number 2, you can multiply the quotient by the divisor, and if you get the dividend for your answer, you are going to be correct. So let's just look back quickly at letter E that you had to answer for number 1. We had 3/4 divided by 1/8, and we had 6 for our quotient. So we're going to take 6, which was our quotient, and we're going to multiply it by the divisor. Remember, the divisor is what you are dividing by when you are using division. So 3/4 divided by 1/8, that's going to be your divisor. If you multiply the divisor and the quotient, you should get then the dividend for your answer. And in this case, when I simplify 6/8, I'm going to get 3/4 for my answer, so I know that I am correct. Let's take a look at page 204. We are going to skip number 3 and move on to number 4. It tells us to calculate each product and show our work. Go ahead and do letters A through F with your group members. For letters A through F for number 4, you should see that you get 1 for the product in every single one of your problems. Number 5 actually asks us what we notice about each product. We should see that each product is 1 whole for our answer. At the top of page 205, when you reverse the numbers in the numerator and the denominator of a fraction, you form the new fraction called the reciprocal. The reciprocal of a number is also known as the multiplicative inverse of the number. The multiplicative inverse of a number a over b is the number b over a, where a and b are non-zero numbers. The product of any non-zero number and its multiplicative inverse is 1. The fractions that you multiplied back in question 4 are reciprocals of each other. So take a look at this new property then that we are introduced to, the multiplicative inverse property. This is going to state that a over b times b over a is going to be equal to 1, where a and b are non-zero numbers. At the top of page 206, Karen said, I wish everything could be as easy as dividing by 1. She tried her dividing by 1 method on the division of fraction problem. So we have 5/8 divided by 3/4. She said, if I can turn the divisor of 3/4 into 1, then the problem can be solved. I can multiply both fractions by the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3, in order to create 1. So if we take a look at number 9, let's analyze Karen's method for dividing fractions, and we want to make sure that we describe the steps in the dashed circles. Write those on each line. Let's go over that together. So just go ahead and write these steps in as we go along, and hopefully this will give you a better understanding of how we can divide with fractions. So the very first thing that Karen did was she rewrote the division as a fraction. We can see that 5/8 divided by 3/4, we have it written as a fraction now. The second thing that she did then was she multiplied by a fraction form of 1, or the multiplicative identity. And the reason that this is important is you can see 3/4 times 4/3, we know that we are going to get 1 for our product. And we'll see that in the next step. The final thing then that she did was implemented the multiplicative inverse property. So 3/4 divided by 4/3 is going to give you your 1 whole, and then 5/8 times 4/3 is what you will have for your numerator. So now all you have to do is multiply those two fractions together, simplify if necessary. We end up with 5/6 for our answer in order to get the fraction in simplest form. Number 10 tells us now, after we looked at Karen's method, let's write a rule based off of her method that we can now use in order to calculate the quotient in the division of a fraction problem. The rule for number 10 is that you can multiply the dividend by the reciprocal of the divisor. So if we look first at the initial problem that we had, 5/8 divided by 3/4, dividing is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. Remember, the divisor is what you are dividing by. So 5/8 divided by 3/4, we are taking the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3, and now all we have to do is multiply the two fractions together. I get 20 over 24, which when I simplify is going to be equal to 5/6. So again, dividing is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of the divisor. At the bottom of page 206, number 11 tells us to calculate each quotient, show your work, and then make sure that your answer is in simplest form. Make sure, too, that none of your answers are improper fractions. Do letters A through F with your group members. Again, remembering that dividing is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of the divisor. For letter A, we should have 2 1/4. Letter B, 1 1/2. Letter C, 1 1/4. Letter D, 1 1/6. Letter E, 1 3/8. And letter F, 1 1/2. That is going to be it for lesson 3.9 and looking at parts in a part and dividing with fractions. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.